Hey, it's John Carlos, and welcome to Movies Worth Talking About with special guest
Eddie!
Eddie. Eddie, we have a title now.
We do.
I have a new wall behind me, a new backdrop.
Yeah, what happened?
New year, new wall, new title. No, what happened is we're redoing this room and
Oh, okay.
the way the desk is arranged. And probably in the next couple months you'll see a very fancy bookshelf back here full of toys. So look forward to that. For now, white wall.
Mhm.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm in front of I can't place. I forget what the color this is, but I guess it looks kind of maybe fleshy plummy.
Mm,
So, but I'm good. I'm exhausted and great. How are
exhausted.
you?
I'm actually quite good. All things considered, with the new year.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But there's things. My mom's getting vaccinated soon, like really soon.
Sweet.
So I'm in a good mood because of that.
Nice.
Uh,
Do you-
Go on.
I was just, it's such an off-topic question. Not off-topic what we're talking about, but it's like probably not. But I was just going to wonder, like, is it Pfizer or is it the other thing? Do you know?
I think it's Pfizer.
Okay, cool. Because I
Two
think
of
that's
you
what my.
you signed up at two different places. The first place was Pfizer. The second place is something else, and the second place is getting it done faster. So second place.
Okay, cool. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
hopefully,
my sister and her husband just got Pfizer, so
Oh,
yeah.
good for them. I'm hoping
Yeah.
once you get it, we can maybe do one of these in person.
Right. I'm waiting to hear back from the Johnson and Johnson people because that's the newest one, and I want to see what the side effects are for that. Because I just want zero side effects. That's how I feel, if possible, or as close to zero as possible.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I heard Mark Bernardin said the Moderna made his arm hurt.
Right. Moderna is the other one that I remember,
Yeah.
and also the second one is where it's supposed to really hit you with Moderna, I believe. I don't. Maybe I'm getting my facts wrong. Don't look to me for your vaccine research, folks. That's not why you're watching.
Here's why you are watching, because we like to talk about movies, and it's been a little while, and I want to do something just fun, something that goes down easy
Mhm.
without too much emotional baggage. And Chopping Mall is not only a great movie and a fun movie, and I'm using the word great. I think it's a fucking great movie. It's a fun movie, but
Mm.
also so many horror movies, even the fun ones, have like subtext. Like, did you know that it's really about this? Especially even just like, oh, it's set in a mall. Well, then it's probably about like consumerism. But like this movie really, it's pretty much exactly what you get. It's 76 minutes. It's fun and it's over and it's great. Goes down real easy.
It does totally. Go
Yeah.
home happy.
Yeah. Um, So I don't even know where to begin with this. I think I'm just going to start right from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
You have this opening scene um, where they're rolling out the idea of uh, security robots to protect a mall.
They begin with the movie within the movie,
Yeah.
actually.
First of all, there's a heist scene in a mall. It's with an action that.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's the opening scene is shorter than the last movie I saw with the opening mall heist action scene, which was Wonder Woman 1984. That went on for like 10 minutes, and the robots don't wink at a little girl or anything. It's very.
Oh, I was wondering how long before you were going to shit on that movie. It's flawed, folks.
Yeah.
But I tend more toward the, and he tends more toward the
I'm just
not.
glad the jewel thief didn't, dangle a kid over the railing, and we all
For no reason.
Why?
But we're not talking about that movie. I'm not going back to jail. I'm going to drop this kid.
But I love that everyone else in the gang is like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Okay, so it's not just me." Okay.
Right.
No, but
I'm like, what's happening?
But the opening of this movie, it's part of a security reel. All that I want to get to is the fact that they're rolling out not only the security of these robots, but that this movie is like chock block full of cameos and references. And within the first scene, you have fucking Mr. and Mrs. Bland,
Yes.
Paul Bartel, and Mary Warrenoff. I love when movies. I guess technically, are we going to say that since they're playing the same characters as Eating Raoul, that Shopping Mall and Eating Raoul are a shared universe.
I would assume as much.
I would assume, in fact, because there was a deleted, not deleted, they never filmed it, but there was a scripted scene, kind of like later in the movie when like the robots are going around and they kill like Dick Miller before they like kill our cast. There was going to be another scene with the Blands, and they were like sneaking. So fucking ridiculous. They were sneaking a horse into the mall so they could like kill it and serve it to people in their restaurant. And a killbot sees them and like kills the two of them and the horse.
Oh my
And
god.
it said like you saw their shoes, and like these little horseshoe stumps, and they're all like smoking.
Oh my god.
I know.
Wait, and this got shot?
No, it was written
okay.
and never shot. And they even talked about like,
okay.
we don't think Roger Corman wants to pay for a horse and then the trailer of the
Right.
horse and to bring it to the set, like all this shit. But
Right.
but yeah, you got Dick Miller playing, and if for anyone out who doesn't know this, Dick Miller played Walter Paisley was the name of the character in A Bucket of Blood. And the kind of cinematic tradition is a lot of the times when he has cameos in movies, they just continue to name him Walter Paisley. So he gets to play Walter Paisley in this. You've got our two leads from Eating Raoul. You've got the chef at the restaurant that the girls work at, Ben Wells, who played Mr. Mushnick in the original Little Shop.
Oh my god, I didn't know that.
Yeah, this movie's full of Roger Corman references everywhere.
Right.
There's the pet store that's called Roger's Little Shop of Pets.
Yes.
Yeah, there's posters in the restaurant that make no sense, but they're all Roger Corman, like, New Horizon posters. Including Slumber Party Massacre, which makes me so happy because I fucking love that movie and I love seeing it go by. I wrote some of them, yeah, but the posters for Galaxy of Terror, Slumber Party Massacre, Sorceress, Barbarian Queen, in a pizza parlor. I don't get it.
In a mall, yeah.
In a mall and a pizza parlor. But what confounds me even more, because I don't want to say I get it, but you could be like, well, I like movies. This is my pizza parlor. But the furniture store that the guys work at, like the little back room, when the one guy's getting ready, there's a poster for Sorceress and Screwballs in there. And I'm like, you could tell that just the producers were like, just put Roger Corman posters in everything. But it just makes no sense that like the furniture, because also, was it Ferdy's uncle owns it. So he's like, oh, I really want that Screwballs poster in the back room. Everyone who works there, Sorceress. It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense.
Right.
But anyway. Not only do we have the two, not just leads from Eating Raoul, but playing the same characters from Eating Raoul, but the first guy to stand up and ask a question is none other than Angus Scrimm, who they felt the need to either not film a close-up of, or they filmed it and didn't use it, but it's from the side and to the back. And if no one tells you that's Angus Scrimm, you wouldn't know that like the fucking tall man is in this movie. But if you were to describe someone that like it was a movie with Dick Miller and Angus Scrimm and fucking like Garrett Graham, like and not to mention the main leads in the movie.
Oh fuck yes! Oh my god!
Like this movie is an '80s horror smorgasbord of casting, and it lets you know very early on, like scene one, like look, we got Angus Scrimm and we're not even gonna give him a close up. Like that's how much we don't care.
It's interesting because I focus more on just like how I think because I don't know, score occurred to me a lot during this movie, and it just had that kind of like like synthetic sound that is so incredibly 1980s to me. I mean, like I can feel there's an emotional response that happens in me when I hear a score, or even just like because it was in the pop music of the time too. It made me think about like a bunch of tracks off of the movie Who's That Girl? But it also seemed to stylistically just kind of really strike the sweet spot of the 80s, like I was just kind of like, this is, I think, what there aren't a lot of movies that capture fashion wise and in far as feel like that kind of 80s thing that I think people imagine when they talk about the 80s. Like if somebody had absolutely no reference for the 1980s and I only had one film to give them, I'd be very comfortable passing Chopping Mall
Yes.
to them to say, this is what it was like. You know, this was what the entertainment was like. This is what, like, I mean, everything from even the depiction of mass consumption um, and to the fashions and the hair and everything like that,
Yeah.
and the kind of freewheeling spirit, like it's sex, it has sex in it, but it's not like sex crazed.
Right.
It's still got a sweetness and an innocence to it, but
It's
it's
got
also, yeah,
arbitrary nudity. I don't know if I'd say
yeah,
gratuitous, but like, and it had the gore, it had the fashion, definitely had the music.
yeah.
Yeah. And it has a to the max drop in it. So like, you know what decade you're in.
And also, I mean, I know it was released in 1986, but I know they had some problems initially. I don't know how long it was held up, so I don't know exactly when it was shot, but it just genuinely felt like that 1980s sweet spot that I
I
mentioned.
I gave I really a lot of the times I'll watch the movie once or twice before we do this, but this time I'm like, let's go down with the commentaries, and I listened to about
Mm.
45 minutes of all three. But one of them was done by these two, like one of the guys who worked for like Shot Till You Drop. So it's like two horror fans or horror writers. And
That's
I think
fun.
one of them mentioned that like it filmed in '83, and I'm like, I don't think it filmed that. And everything that made me go online, I'm pretty sure it still filmed like in '86 and came out in '86.
Okay, it
I
feels
don't.
like it, or 85 at the
Yeah,
earliest.
it
It
definitely
feels
had
like it.
an interesting release pattern.
Mhm.
I mean, you're coming off of an era where this sort of thing would have gone to a drive-through or a
Mm.
drive-in,
Drive in, yeah.
but it played in more theaters than I think the directors originally expected. Um, and it became that thing where what was once movies that would go to a drive-in, like those type of movies, became the movies that come out on video, which is I know a big part of like the Vestron video. This was one of the Vestron videos,
Yeah.
uh, and Vestron, went into making their own movies too. But it was written as Robot,
Yes.
released it as Killbots,
Yeah.
and then it didn't do well.
Yeah. With
Then
test
they
audiences.
re-released it as Chopping Mall, and it did much better. And then it did
Yeah.
gangbusters on video over the years. And there's a fun story about how like they had done a screening of it, and it had already come out and not done well.
Yeah.
But there was a screening of it that Roger Corman was at.
Hmm.
Some
Yes.
stories say there was a janitor, but according to the story I heard on one of the bonus features, it was like the guy who like thread the film into the camera.
Mm.
But they're just talking about how it's not doing well, and maybe it's the title. The poster didn't look like it was selling Killbots, and is this a Transformers movie? And I guess this random guy at the theater who was studying the film goes, "Man, you should call it Chopping Mall." And they're just like,
Yes.
"All right, random guy, that's pretty good, random guy."
Yeah. I saw that story in a Q&A that the director and Kelly Maroney had done like maybe 12 years ago, and at a screening. And yeah, everything you say checks out.
It's just,
And they gave it a shot, and I'm forever going to be forgetting the director's name. I have it written down. Wynorski.
Wynorski.
Jim Wynorski said that like it was a great lesson for him as far as like releasing movies in this particular genre, because a title it can either make or break your movie. Like people are gonna like either dip in or they're not, and you have to like give them everything that they need in the title and in like the poster or the cover or
Yeah,
whatever, whatever have you, because that's what's going to draw that particular fan base. And I don't think much has changed.
that title gets your attention instantly.
Yeah.
Instantly. Not to mention,
Absolutely.
not to mention the tagline, like shopping will cost you an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
That was another one of those videos that like I grew up as a kid. I saw the video box my whole life, even into like my 20s and 30s. I didn't get into this movie until five, 6 years ago.
Mhm.
and I screened it at one of our movie nights.
Yeah, you got me into it.
Like what, 2 years ago?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am. First of all, I just want to say I'm so glad that I found this movie at this age. There's certain movies that they're 80s and you had them, but considering how 80s this is, it was so great to see this in the 2000 teens
Mm-hmm.
and being able to look back on it. Like I, I think I would have preferred that to get this level of 80s-ness. Um, anyway, the post that video box and that poster though, even up until a few years ago when I first watched it, I remember seeing that bag with that hand on it,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks sort of like a zombie, but sort of like a robot. It looks like a xenomorph ripoff. It looks like a Giger species with the rings around the fingers and the knuckles. And I'm
Mm.
watching the movie, just going, so it's robots, huh? Like that poster is famously like one of the most misleading nonsense posters that does
Oh
not
yeah, yeah,
reflect the
yeah.
movie whatsoever. The title, there is no chopping
No.
that occurs in the chopping mall.
When you screened it for me, I remember I was expecting to see something where there was like a killer loose in a mall, like a slasher 1980s kind of thing that I had heard about, but I wasn't that familiar with. But I knew Russell Todd was in it, and I didn't know Kelly Maroney was in it yet, so I was really excited about that because I think you told me going in like, oh, and Kelly Maroney's in this. I was kind of like, oh, cool, awesome, and but yeah, then when I realized it was robots, as the guy who introduces them in the very beginning, I love that he calls them robots, and every now and then somebody leans back into that, calling them the killbits or the robots. So I'm just going to
I
be
just like saying robots in general.
yeah, right.
Like
So I'm
I
probably going to
think
be doing
Guillermo del
that.
Toro, whenever like when he's promoting Pacific Rim, he'd say robots, and I just stuck.
That I mean, I remember I wasn't disappointed. I was actually just kind of like shocked. I was like, "Oh, is that what we're doing?" But then I think in the opening when they started like turning their heads, and the way they craned their heads sounded like mechanical, like electronic can openers of the time. Just that, and I was just kind of like, "Oh, I think this is going to be fun. I'm going to be watching, these kind of like artillery level Johnny Fives."
Oh
Chasing
yeah,
after a bunch of teens. I'm in good hands.
your first time watching it, if you're not sold like in the first like the movie tells you in the first like 3 minutes,
Yeah.
like you're gonna like this, and if you're not
Yeah.
hooked in the first 3 minutes, then
And it's not for you.
I'm glad you mentioned Johnny Five because Mrs. Bland like leans over and says like these three robots look like the Three Stooges or something, and
Right.
I think Short Circuit came out in '86, and Johnny
Mm-hmm.
Five rewires these three robots to be the Three Stooges, and I'm like, what a
Yes.
weird coincidence. And also, I love there was a thing in the '80s that I appreciated, and this movie is a part of it, where for some reason there were just robots in things and an absurd level of robots that were not achievable but for the movies, and
Mm-hmm.
we were supposed to accept them, and I never accepted them. It just makes me laugh. Rocky 3, hey Polly, I just got you this robot,
Yeah.
like, huh?
No, I fucking
um
loved it when I was a kid.
no,
Yeah.
but it made no but there's plenty of movies about robots, like Short Circuit. Even then, it's about one robot in a domestic situation with like a woman.
Yeah.
um
Uh-huh.
but yeah,
In the
your
first movie,
Rocky
yeah.
3, I'm sorry, your Rambo 3s, Deadly Friend, even to a certain degree,
Mm.
A View to a Kill. Like one of the gadgets that Q makes is a stupid little robot that looks like a dog. Like all these '80s movies were just like, put a robot that's nonsense, but no one in the scene understands that it's nonsense. We're just all going to
Right.
accept that there's a giant robot in the scene. So the idea of that, like, oh, it's a mall, but giant metal doors and fucking robots.
Yeah.
I love the '80s for this very reason.
I think Mr. and Mrs. Bland's reaction to the robots kind of sells me also in the fact that they're so, I mean, it's beyond deconstruction. They're full on kind of reading them,
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
yeah.
go on, but I have thoughts.
Yes.
I never observed this until this viewing.
Oh.
Mr. Bland,
Uh-huh.
after she mentions Short Circuit, goes,
Yeah.
I don't know, Mary. The one in the middle has an unpleasantly ethnic
Unpleasantly
vibe.
ethnic quality.
Yeah, which I just he. But then I noticed that of the three, and they're in numerical order. One has like a silver disc with the number one on it. Three has like a white disc with the number three. The middle one, number two, has a black disc. And I'm like, wait, the black one? You racist piece of shit? Fuck, Mr. Bland. Because other than those discs, they're completely identical.
I didn't even notice. I just thought they were being bitchy. That's hilarious. I do think it's hilarious.
I'm just partially joking that I'm reading too much into it, but really though, it is the black numbered one, and that's weird.
It is.
You piece of shit.
But I mean, I mean, he did. I don't. It was the '80s. Also, you know what? There's few people other than Paul Bartel who I would accept that kind of a
Yeah.
line from. But because I actually just realized, because I was looking through him, I was just kind of like, okay, I know him from things like the Tales of the City miniseries and its sequels, and I knew him from the first thing that I usually comes to mind is he plays a really significant role in Billy's Hollywood Screen Kiss, Sean Hayes' first big thing before Will and Grace and everything. But I didn't realize, I was looking through it, he's done so fucking much. Obviously, you already said like Eating Raoul, but I didn't realize this was the surprise for me though. He was the Usher, the movie Usher in Gremlins 2, the new batch.
Yeah.
I'm too full of joy watching the rest of the scene that it just never registered on my, because I mean, sometimes you see people you like, you're just kind of like, oh, one more reason to love this scene. And you just forget, so many other things are going on. But I was just kind of like, oh my God, he does do that. It's wonderful to have those little aha moments. And I had one with Mary Warrenoff actually recently, about maybe like 3 weeks ago. I was watching Dick Tracy and I didn't realize she's in that.
Who is she? Yeah. Dick Tracy?
She is the woman who goes by the police station to pick up Kid and take him back to the orphanage.
My brain started going like computer.
Yeah.
She was the kid at the orphanage. Yeah, okay.
And total sidebar, I always knew Kathy Bates was in it. I even recognized her, but I didn't know Catherine O'Hara's in that movie too. You don't know? I couldn't place it. I had to kind of fast forward through the movie and just look for her in Dick Tracy. She is the sole woman. She's wearing a veil, so you can't tell. But she's the sole woman sitting at that table that Big Boy is having the big meeting and everything. Like, she's like, yeah. And then James Caan gets up and then it don't work.
That don't work.
She is there. She is stunningly beautiful. But she's got a veil. So you can't really tell it's her. You just know eyes, lips, gorgeous, and she's just kind of like, the whole time, and it's amazing. So anyway,
and watch that again.
Yeah, that's a little trivia for you. There you go. But Mary Warrenoff, I knew when I heard the voice, I was just like, she's like, hello, I'm here to know. I don't want to wait. I want to take the child now. Like, I was like, that's my girl.
And we just talked about Night of the Comet like a few months ago.
Yeah, with Kelly Maroney and Mary Warrenoff.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. So I think I'm just going to dive into something here.
Go for it.
Barbara Crampton.
Yeah.
I don't say this about a lot of people, but when you say Barbara Crampton, I think royalty, like horror cinematic royalty. And one of the things that fascinates me about her is I never, ever get a sense that she is above the material she's in. She always gives her all. Yeah. And she gives, if to me, if me, acting is the pursuit of truth in whatever sort of bubble, whatever tone bubble you're in. Nothing, every role she's ever played never feels like the previous, like even back to back, when you look like Reanimator and then From Beyond, and compare that to this, they are wholly three different characters.
Yeah.
And there's so much to who her character's sort of energy and vibe is that she's still bringing all the truth to it without ever. She never like there's. I'm not shitting on performances here, but there are some performances that feel like 80s kind of cheesy acting, and then And then Barbara Crampton is over here, just giving me like 110%. And God bless her for it. I You put her and Kelly Maroney in the same movie, and that just makes this movie sparkle. But and even though I do consider this movie to be the Kelly Maroney show,
Yeah.
I still have to put it out there that royalty came to work, and that Barbara Crampton gives me all the truth in their friendship, in her scenes. Um, Especially, it's such a little thing, but with her and because I never remember names.
Hmm.
We got Allison as Kelly Maroney, and then Susie. So Allison and Susie. I love.
Yeah.
They drop the pizza. They're making the plan. She's like, "It is, babe, isn't it?" When they have that, and then later
Hmm.
when they're going into the furniture store, and this random guy walks by, she's like, "Hey, babe," and then they both go, "It is, babe, isn't it?" That instantly fills me in on a friendship and a history, and
Yeah.
I guarantee, at least my guarantee is that there was clearly a time where the two of them were hanging out,
Hmm.
and some douchebag came up to her and was like, "Hey, babe, this babe, isn't it?" And they're like, "Oh, this fucking guy," and that's now their reference point. Like, there's a
Yeah.
history to that line, to their story, and the fact that even though yes, this is a 76-minute robots killing people in a mall movie,
Yeah.
there are lesser versions of this kind of thing where they don't bother to write these kind of, it's just one line but it builds a relationship. There are characters here, there are relationships here
Yeah.
that lesser people could just kind of skip over.
Yeah. There's something I don't want to say tangible because that's the wrong word, and I don't want to use it the way a Kardashian uses literally. But there's some palpable. There is something
Hmm.
palpable and kind of like undeniable in that friendship. Like it's almost like the movie is like daring me not to like them because it's just like they're so incredible. It's so easy to just kind of like embrace them and take them to my heart and just be kind of like, okay, I'm rooting for you. At least until Susie starts to lose it. Um, when I have to say, I turn on her because I am a
Oh, the
horror
air ducts
fan. Huh?
in the air ducts.
Yeah. And everything that follows after that, because I'm watching a character become completely immobilized by her fear to the point where it costs her her life. And one thing that I do laugh at is when she catches on fire. And I mean, even though Kelly Maroney is watching her and she is, just beside herself, like watching her best friend. There's nothing fun about the reaction shots, but just watching the shot of her body laying there on the ground, just burning, and she's I'm just like, maybe it's because it was so preventable.
Yes.
It's like there's no reason that it needed to go down like this. I mean, her guy, is it Greg? Is her guy Greg?
Your guy is Greg.
Yeah. With the pepperoni thing. Oh
Yeah.
God. Anyway.
Oh, it's so creepy. Hey,
Oh
I
God.
like
No, I
pepperoni.
like pepperoni. Ew, gross. Don't, ugh. But he to the point where he's sitting there just like, like telling Allison, like, you shouldn't have done that. She should have just stayed there. You would have been safe. And it's like, bitch, that no, oh my God. And Allison is just too nice a person to just go like, listen,
No.
fucker. That's She insisted, okay? She killed herself, okay? She's a dumbass and she did it to herself. She didn't know how to jump out of the way, even though like these things are shooting at us like stormtroopers, and it's like, ooh, it missed me, Like, I
Well,
mean, I'm
here,
standing directly in front of it and it's missing me. Like,
I never
all you have to
thought
do is
about
not
this.
fall down.
I
Yeah.
never thought about this until this viewing. But once they shoot her in the leg and she falls down, and she's like screaming,
Yeah.
I just thought, because like she can't crawl because her leg, right? But I looked at the area, and only this time did it pop in my head. Just roll to the side.
That is exactly what I thought.
Just roll.
Exactly.
She does the Austin Powers, like, no.
I
Even
mean, if they had,
she is not fond of the. I won't watch all the making of stuff, and she talks about like when they hide from the they hide her and what the frick was the other guy's name here? Linda,
oh, okay, the other guy.
the other girl.
Yes. Yeah.
they like duck behind this planter when they're running, and she does like a kind of scream, and she's like, I hate that scream. I hate that that's what they used, and then like they cut to just add a uh, yeah. But you know what? I like me a good person getting burned in a movie,
Yeah,
and
I
that's a
mean,
very
again,
good.
it doesn't make me check out of the movie. It just makes me kind of check out of the death emotionally. Like I can continue on with the movie and accept the fact that they've all lost somebody that they care about, but I'm not sitting there going, "Oh no, Susie was my favorite character," because there's this term. I think I've talked about it on the pod before, but that my sister and I use when it escalates. It starts off when somebody proves that they are completely going to be of absolutely no help in a group in like a slasher kind of setting. And it needn't be slasher, it could be a ghost story or any kind of horror movie.
Sure.
But someone's going to be no help. We call them, if it's a guy, it's Johnny Useless, or if it's a girl, Janie Useless. And she started out being a Janie Useless,
Mhm.
and she pretty much stuck there because she didn't really kind of fuck things up for anybody else, really. But I started getting from Greg when he was like sitting there like getting angry with his gun. I was like, okay, don't turn into a Johnny fuck up, because that is the next level after
Yep.
the Johnny Useless. It's like, yeah, that's when we wash our hands of the character. And luckily, I don't think he really did, even though, okay, what was up with that death? Like, he jumped up to the top of the escalator and had full peripheral vision of everybody. Turns around and he says whatever he says is like, it's clear. Or I think I wrote it down. Come on, guys, the coast is clear. Wow. And it's it's like it's that Walking Dead thing of like, when they're on camera, they're noisy and you can see them and it kind of but for some reason, because we need to do that thing, like we need to have the reveal, the dramatic reveal. You'll be like alone in a space, creeping around it tentatively, and then it'll be fine, and you'll exhale, and then you'll turn, and there'll be hundreds of them. They'll be
Mhm.
now. I feel like that's what these robots
This,
were
yeah,
just kind of like, just don't move, you won't
they're
notice us.
noisy when we need them to be noisy, and then they're silent
Exactly.
when we need them to be silent. And
Right.
so much so, I mean, they turn on their, but yet when they're in the control room, they're like fucking silent as shit. And then
Hmm.
they're around the mall going, but then when what's his nuts goes to the cigarette machine,
Yeah.
it's just there, and he's like, "Man, you fuckers are quiet." And you're like, "But are they? I guess they are when we need them to be."
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
oh, and also I just wanted to draw one more cinematic parallel. Um, I would have had more respect for Susie in her elimination if she would have kind of been judge doomed, like if they would have just like gotten some glue or something sticky to like get her to, so she can't get up for the floor. It's like, was it that
Oh,
hard? Like, instead of just having her immobilized by, no, I'm scared, I can't roll, I can't. I mean, I guess you can't crawl on all fours if you got shot in the leg, but okay, number one, it's not with bullets, it's with some kind of phaser things. So yeah, I mean, Kelly Maroney got one, and she
yeah,
was still chugga
yeah.
chugga chugga chugga,
And
So
they all. I guess I need to go back again and watch it. But when Leslie
yeah,
is running, it's like a
hmm,
purple laser blast.
yeah,
Then when the two of them come into the store, I could have sworn they're blue and red blasts.
right,
And then when the second one gets shoots the mirror and it's like short circuiting, like it's firing out green ones. And I
yeah,
have to imagine that they have different. Here's my me doing the work, but I have to imagine the different colors have different levels of severity.
probably.
So like a purple will blow up your fucking head. Whatever Susie got hit with was pretty serious, can't walk. Whereas Allison, I'm all right. I mean, it hurts, but I'll live.
Yeah, I guess blue is just kind of like make a hole in it, and
Yeah.
but then again, red. I wrote down like the robots, the killbits have heat vision apparently, because like those red lasers come out and just start like drawing that kind of doorway into the metal, drop slide door or whatever, when they finally get into the Macy's or the Robinsons May, wherever the fuck they are. Um, And that was red the whole time. So yeah, maybe the colors do mean something. Maybe they don't. They just wanted it to be fun. And they're like, oh, we got more than one color. Yeah, why
Fuck it.
not?
Yeah.
Yeah, lightsabers are different colors. Why not?
I've only, prior to this watching, I mean, I love this
Yeah.
movie, but I saw it once
Mhm.
and then I watched it again with you guys. And then this is only my third time watching it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, maybe fourth, but third, yeah. And I remember having this reaction the first time, and then enough time had passed that I kind of went, "Oh yeah." But like, in the opening scene, like they use the robots. They use like electrical thingies to like taser you. They have little
Yeah.
hand claws that either like go in your throat or go through the back of your head. But everything we've seen them do is very physical.
Mm.
And then when Leslie is running from them in the mall, it's just this harsh like laser blast. And I remember the first time going like, oh, they have laser. Like it was so simple. It was all very stabby and electrical. And then all of a sudden it's like 80s superimposed rotoscope laser blasts.
Yes.
It was so Star Wars. It was so like Masters of the Universe. It was so doof, doof, doof. I just
Yes.
first time I saw it, I kind of laughed. And it's not even a funny moment, but I'm just like, oh, like that's how hardcore these are. But
Yeah.
yeah, fucking love it. I'm just happy.
There were a lot of laughs.
And also that
Yeah.
that head explosions,
Yeah.
for the ages.
I mean,
If you go down the internet rabbit hole a bit of people's opinions, it is a very highly ranked head
oh, that's
explosion.
great.
Yeah.
Okay,
Nothing
cool.
can ever beat Scanners, but it's pretty high up there.
Oh God, yeah. But no, that's awesome.
One of the here's something I'd like to talk about.
Okay.
I'm confused about how old everyone is supposed to be in this movie.
Yeah.
Because we see that Rick and Linda are married and they own their own business.
Yes.
However, Allison has to like call her dad.
Yeah.
And then be like, all right, daddy. And she's explaining this to Susie. And Susie's like, oh yeah, my parents still think I'm a kid. So I'm like, you're living at home, you're asking your parents for permission, so you're teens, right? And even Leslie, when she's like working in the store, she's like, okay,
Yes.
daddy, daddy. So I'm like, all right, so these are kids. None of them look like kids. Well, I believe Kelly Maroney as like, a kid.
Yeah.
A lot of these other people, none of the men. They all men. They
Young
feel,
men, yeah.
and some of them are like, I know one of them was 25, but they all feel like they're in their 20s, maybe early 30s. But they're planning a party in the furniture store because Birdie's uncle's like gone this weekend. When when an adult is gone for the weekend and we throw a party, that's something kids do because they don't have a home of their own. And the fact that so many people are referring to their daddy, getting permission from their dad, like the way these men look, I'm like, I don't know if I'm supposed to think they're teens, but the way they look, I'm like, so did none of them have their own house or apartment to have a party in? We actually have to be excited about the uncle being gone because that's what kids do. and you're friends with a married couple with a like a towing business. It's just very confusing.
Sorry, my cat's mewing.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
No, yeah, absolutely.
If you had cast teenagers in the part, but it's so weird to see like 25-year-olds in this scenario.
Yeah.
And I'm not complaining. It just kind of makes me chuckle.
I mean, I just assumed, they're all like 20-ish, in their 20s, actors playing 18 and 19-year-olds. Like I got a very kind of like either senior year or freshman year of college kind of vibe where you're still kind of dependent on your parents, but you're also kind of an adult, like that, where there's a lot of blurred line. And maybe honestly, the thing that I thought with Rick and Linda is that like maybe they like struck out on their own and got married, maybe they eloped like the second whoever's younger turned 18.
Yeah.
And maybe he took over his dad's business or something like that. I didn't get to read the whole thing on the door, but it's prominent. Like they put it in the camera. They want you to see that it's like a mechanics,
Business,
like car mechanics service and everything like that. So again, that's the kind of thing, that's the kind of job, even though it's a very legitimate job, and I know adults are mechanics, it's also for the 80s. I think Stephanie Zanoni working at her dad's service station and in Grease 2, folks, if you don't know what we're talking about. Michelle Pfeiffer, fixing cars. Watch.
Mm-hmm.
But so I don't know. I mean, it never. I mean, I'm glad you're bringing it up because I think it's worth addressing. But but it never really bothered me. I was always just kind of like. Also, I mean, in the 80s, it was always a crapshoot whether you were going to get like kids playing kids or whether you're going to get like adults playing kids. Like it pretty much, from movie to movie.
Grease, where there's 30-year-olds playing high schoolers. So like
exactly.
And we're the generation that watched 90210 with 30-year-olds playing high schoolers.
Oh, gee, God.
Also, the weird thing about it's so the uncle is gone. We have the store to ourselves.
Yeah.
But specifically, like we're here to fuck. Like he specifically is like, I got clean sheets. Like you got the beer, you bringing the food, I got the clean sheets. They're all in the same store. And then when we actually see it, like we see one couple and the camera pulls back, and then like right over there is the other, and like, oh, so we're like fucking in front of each other.
Yeah.
Like we're not even gonna like, you take that corner and I'm gonna like,
no.
The bed's just, and then the camera pulls over and then they're over there. Like, but it's not quite an orgy. We're just all kind of together and we're all just gonna fuck.
Just really open-minded and free.
And the fact that the married couple, let's say that even if they're married and running a business, they're not, it's like, in this thing tonight that we're going to in the furniture store, like, yeah, like, don't you have your own apartment that you can fuck in?
That's what I'm saying. I think this was a weird luxury for them.
Yes.
Like being in a king-sized bed. And the fact that she threw, I love the
I
fact
just
that
thought it was just like a little kinky that like, hey, we're doing it in a fucking store. Like, I thought that was
But I also thought like it's so telling, the fact that she throws, I didn't even know I forgot what it was that she throws in Russell Todd's face when he's sitting in the car. And I was just kind of like, what did she throw at him? And then I looked and I was just kind of like, is it a bikini or is it her? And then when she walks in and she's wearing her like plain white cotton bra and panties, but the fact that it's like this big event and she's like marching over to the bed and everything, strutting, which is adorable. And I wouldn't have it any other way, but it speaks an innocence that's not quite adulthood to me.
Yes. However, don't shit on white cotton panties. Sometimes the
literally.
No.
Is that the kind of thing that if it were hit your face, you're like, oh my God?
Well, actually, depending on what age I was, like, it'd been a really like panties. Right. That you're implying sex. But he seems to have his shit together more than I would have at like 18 or 19. The girl's like panties, and I'm like, by the way, the two of them, fucking Russell Todd and was it Carrie Emerson?
Carrie Emerson, yeah, with a K. Yeah.
Russell Todd, I'm sure, is he? I know he's from Friday the 13th Part 2, but I feel like he's somebody that you're fond of in Friday the 13th Part 2.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, there we go. They, I thought this the first time I saw it, and I have a sense memory of it every time I've watched it since. When that scene, the two of them are established, and he's working in the car, and she's in the front seat, just the way she kind of leans out and talks to him, and their rapport, I instantly, within 2 lines, went, "Oh, you're married. Like you're a couple. Like you're a duo. Not just like you're a couple, like you're fucking and you're young or something." I'm like, "Oh, you're like a unit. And then you're married." And then, maybe about 10 lines later, it comes up that like, when I took those vows, I'm like, "You are married. You guys are fucking good.
Yeah.
You guys built like a chemistry that reads beyond just a line about fixing a car. They are insanely good together."
Yeah.
They're
without playing again. There's no muscle in it. It just
yeah.
exists.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's no like flexing and like holding hands. It feels like a bond.
it does.
It's great work. Um,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, so
All I could think was it was an equal opportunity. Check out their butt scene because we established with him leaning over in
they
the car when we
each.
switch places. She bends over into the car, just kind of like, I love this kind of thing.
I mean, there's gratuitous boobs, but there's plenty of like shirtless men in this movie too. So I
Yeah,
guess
or
that.
just like little. I mean, even just like the little wisp of chest hair that we get from Ferdy. Is it Ferdy? I can't remember his
Yeah,
name.
it's
But just the
Ferdy.
fact that like they opened his shirt, like the two chest buttons. I'm just like looking at like it's got a little carpet going on there, and it's like it's not like in a sneezy kind of way. It's just kind of like, oh my gosh, wait, what do you have going on? Like, and I'm sad we never get to see him like disrobe. But at the same time, like it's probably better just to
No, but
imagine
for
like
those,
it.
no, for him and Allison,
No,
no,
yeah.
don't.
No, I wouldn't
That's-
want. But I mean, if one of the robots just kind of shot his shirt open, I wouldn't have been upset.
then very quickly he's like, "Oh my
Horror.
god, no!"
Yeah,
I'm,
right.
uh,
And that's the moment she really fell for him.
uh,
But, but I mean,
um,
because that's actually in line just before we abandon like the adult child thing also, because another thing that I got a strong sense of, maybe this is why I accepted it too. The second we see the three guys in the store all talking about the night and the way it's going to go down, and we see Michael, we see Greg, and we see Ferdy. Um, First I got like a Patrick Bateman, but nice and not as rich kind of vibe, just because of their hair and because of their collars, and just, I mean, I just got that preppy yuppie, whatever vibe, and because I also kind of identify that, like I felt like I'd seen these guys would be totally in place, hanging out with Michael J. Fox on Family Ties, you know, and I feel like Alex P. Keaton, the character he played on Family Ties, walked that line for a long time of like, I'm a kid, but I'm also kind of an adult, but I keep coming back to my parent, like for the purpose of the sitcom. But I think it did something to the way I read guys who look like that,
sure.
in that they all seem to belong to a kind of like, I still live with my parents, but I can talk about things like the stock market, like I have adult sensibilities, but I also have still kind of like childhood or at least youth oriented
Yeah,
attachments to things. I'm not totally independent, but I'm not just like some kids scraping about. That's another thing I think. And when I just saw them all in this tableau where they're all just kind of discussing the night, I got a big sense of that. It just made sense to me. I just thought, oh, you're not in a fraternity, so this is the fraternity,
right. And
Yeah.
also, like
So
we were just talking about with Gremlins, like Billy Peltzer's another like he's out of school.
exactly. Yes.
Got
I
to.
think the 80s were all about blurring that line.
Yes, they were. And being friends with random old men or little boys, and it's all
Exactly. With no
yeah,
questions asked at all.
yeah, not at all. um, so we already kind of talking about them, but Ferdy and Allison,
Yeah.
uh, this is horror 101, and I know that the writers were aware of this when they wrote it, which is
Mm-hmm.
in these movies you have sex, you die,
Mm-hmm.
and the two that don't bone are the two that live.
Yeah.
Um, they were very aware that they were making what they refer to as, like, and a lot of people refer to as like the dead teenager movie. Like the pitch was like, I think it was, God, I forget her name, the producer, but Jane Corman, something Corman.
Sure.
She's like, hey,
Ms. Corman, yes.
we got to do a movie in a mall, killer in a mall, and they're like, all right, well, we'll write it for you, and they're like, well, what if it wasn't a killer? What if it's a robot? And
Right.
the idea that when you're speaking just goes away and you just forget what you're talking about. Oh no, they knew that
Okay.
they were making they knew like, hey, the movies that we make now, like these dead teenager movies, but like let's do something a little different. Instead of just someone trying to kill them in a mall, let's at least make the effort to have them like try to defend themselves. So they're going to go to the store and they're going to get some guns and they're going to take the thing to the elevator. They're going to fight
Yeah.
back a bit. That was like the vision for the
Yeah.
movie. Um, so that already makes it a little bit different. But also, it's familiar enough that it gives me all the things that I want with that familiarity of an 80s
Yeah.
dead teenager movie. And as far as having, your two innocents, um, Kelly Maroney had already done plenty of work, and she shines so bright in Night of the Comet.
Yeah.
Um, but I love that she got the opportunity to be like the final girl, like to essentially
Mhm.
have like to headline her. She does get first billing, um, but she plays all the levels that I need her to play perfectly. And it's not just the way we set her up, and like I don't want to go to the party, and I don't want to be set up, and that clearly my friend parties harder than I do. Um, that what gets me is uh her third act, which is essentially just her
Mhm.
in the pet store. I like that something switches, something she gets pushed to a point where when we think Ferdy's dead, there's a new fire in her. It's not just survival mode, it's like an impulse, it's a drive, and it's a
Mhm.
determination. And you see it in the pet store, you see it going forward, but I love it when she's in like that. You can The line at the end where she's about to blow up the third fucking robot
Mhm.
and she throws back because the whole time they kill someone, say thank you, have a nice day.
Yes.
When she throws it back in their face, there is like borderline venom
Mhm.
coming from her, but you can see that
Yeah.
venom in her eyes in all the scenes leading up to that. And again, we've seen plenty of other 80s movies where the actors aren't fully committed to what they're in, or they're aware of a certain schlock that they're in.
Mhm.
But man, she sells me her third act rise, her
Yeah.
survival mode.
Mm.
Fucking great. That's all I'm gonna
I
say. She's fucking
agree.
great.
No, yeah. Allison. I wish Allison were more celebrated because she's so effortlessly likable, and because I I'm kind of at odds with like one thing, but I don't. I'm at odds because I don't know how to feel. Because the second I start to kind of like lean in one direction, the other direction started tugging at me. So I'm never going to be settled on this. But it's just like one thing where she what was it that she said? Oh yeah, it's after she, I think it's after she shoots at the elevator and she actually makes the shot and it goes down and everything. Like they all dive down and she just looks up and they're all kind of looking at her like, like like what? How'd you do? And she just says, "Dad's a Marine." And on one hand, like my 2021 sensibility immediately goes like, why does she need a reason though to like be a good shot? Like, but then I think but nobody else is a good shot in this movie. Like
Right.
nobody, people shoot and fire, and especially okay, we haven't even addressed like the ridiculousness of flesh and blood people shooting at machines with guns to try and take them out. And I mean, it's not that it's completely un like unproductive. Like at one point, I think Ferdy shoots the one that's backing Allison into when she's screaming for him into a corner and he comes over and he actually at close range shoots it in and it says something about like how its sensor is compromised or something like that. So I'm like, okay, so you can like fuck it up with bullets, but
But it's very
obviously
little to no damage, really.
yeah, because I mean it just keeps right on going. Like
Yeah, they're
whatever
essentially
you hit.
bulletproof. Like their casing is bulletproof.
Exactly. So you just keep shooting at it and it's like it so okay, let me get back to her because there's a lot to unpack with this. But um so I'm like kind of upset because it's like, well, none of the guys had to be kind of like explain why they're good with guns when they go into peck and
They're
paws,
not though.
and they're not. That's the thing. But they don't even have to explain like why they're so confident with guns because they, like it's just kind of assumed like guys know how to handle guns. But then it also kind of brought me back to Night of the Comet, the fact that she,
That's what I was.
was a military girl
Mhm.
again, and I really do. I don't have a problem believing that she's that either. Like she does strike me as someone who can handle herself. So I'm like, like I said, I'm never going to be at peace about it and be like, this is the way I feel. I'm just constantly going to be like, but it stood out to me.
My
So
my
there's that.
take on it was, yes, from 2021 eyes, from an SJW woke, you know, uh, does she need to have a reason? No, but if it was a movie where all the men were good at shooting and then
Right.
she was good at shooting, I'm like, why the fuck does she need to have a reason? But they all suck. So like, sure, like let's explain. Like they're all like, why are you so good? I'm like, oh, okay. So, but also, I just thought the line was a nice little wink, wink, nudge, nudge to Night of the Comet. So I just sort of
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah. I'm forever wavering, but I will always come back to going, oh, but because I'll
Also,
just imagine her sister, you know,
yeah.
like, somewhere.
Well, also, Night of the Comet filmed a little bit in this mall. Like, first of all, like a billion movies filmed
Mm-hmm.
in this mall. The
Mm-hmm.
Sherman Oaks, yeah, the Galleria.
Galleria.
Yeah.
Although the
Also,
exterior was the Beverly Center.
exterior was the Beverly Center.
Yeah.
Interior was the Galleria.
Mm-hmm.
But what was fun was she was in Fast Times, which filmed at the Galleria. She was
Yeah.
in Night of the Comet, which filmed a little bit in the Galleria. So, yeah. Also, that store, Peck and Paws, nice little wink. Again, the movie's littered with references to things. You have a Peck and Paw. Where
Yeah.
are our guns at? We get them at Peck and Paws. Of course we do.
Yes. Sammy.
Yeah.
I have something else to bitch about if you want me to continue.
Oh, then bitch away, man.
Okay, because I started to go into it with the robots and how they have to take them down. Okay, so she finally used fire and it worked.
Uh-huh.
Cool. I mean, she's the final girl. She should be thinking like that. But the whole time I'm watching them, and I had to go back, and I couldn't find anything in that opening scene where they're describing the robots and like what they're capable of and whatever. But did they at one point ever like describe them as waterproof or even water resistant? Because I thought like, well, you got the elements. Like fireworks, great, we know that. But what about water? Did nobody ever think about like holding a match underneath like a sprinkler system and just getting them coated in like water just to see what would happen? Maybe they'll
Can I
short
counter
circuit.
that by saying if they were so easily defeated by water, that would make them real shit security robots? Because then any thief can just like water.
Obviously, the thief would never think of that because the kids sure didn't. I mean,
Yeah.
No, they never even tried. Like if they would have like, because I mean, again, you could actually tack on like another 3 or 4 minute like sequence in there where where somebody just like tries to dump water on them or something like that and it doesn't work and they're like, fuck. I mean,
Wizard of Oz,
that would actually
shit.
raise the stakes for me. Exactly, that would actually raise the stakes for me. And
because then they're more desperate because there's one more thing that doesn't work.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I feel like while I do love this movie, like I would not mind packing a little more in there and giving it like maybe a rounder like 90-minute runtime or something like that.
I think there was an earlier cut that they had, and then they ended up cutting out I think like 12 minutes or 19 minutes, but there was like a 90-minute version of this. But this movie is so fucking lean. Like this movie is efficient. It tells its story. It's paced.
There's no fat on it at all.
Paced.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. I used to think about like in my early 20s when I was studying cinema and foreign films in like 2.5 and 3 hours, and we're like, there is something to be said for like a movie that like tells its story efficiently in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then this movie's like, I'll see your 90 minutes. It's 76 minutes, and that includes credits.
Yes.
Growing up, the only 75-minute movies I knew of were Disney movies.
Yeah.
Like animated feature films were like an hour 10, an hour 15. I remember being shocked the first time I saw like a 90-minute Disney movie. I was like, what?
Yeah, yeah. It's like 88 minutes. Oh my God.
Exactly.
There's just no way.
I do think my like little nitpick was, they get the guns, it's not working. And I think it was a propane tank.
Yeah. Or something. Yeah, something contained,
and
like under pressure.
Knocked it the fuck. I mean, it eventually gets up, but like that really seemed to do it. And I was like, all right, are we gonna go back to Peck and Paws and get more of those? That was really effective. And then they keep going, and I'm like, go back to Peck and Paws and get more tanks. Why are we not going back to Peck and Paws and get more tanks? Because even though it got back up, if you threw another one down there and just did it again, or now it's on the ground, you just fucking put a shotgun right up to its little laser eye thing and just, keep doing it. things. I know you need to keep it fresh, but it's frustrating when something is effective. You can't just keep dropping them down an elevator, so that won't work. That was the only one that really worked, but it's a one-off, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I feel like some attention must be paid to Garrett Graham being in this.
Yeah, go for it.
No, it's just nice to see him. I know he just came in for the day to do it, but I spent a good part of my childhood seeing him in small roles, and then
Mhm.
one day I saw Phantom of the Paradise, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, you're a legend in my book. No matter what you do
Mhm.
now, from Child's Play 2 to fucking like used cars, like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
are Phantom of the Paradise to me. And
yeah.
again, if you read off the listing of this cast to a stranger who like your mind would explode how you assembled all these people, and the fact that apparently like he had a cold or the flu that day, like when he came in to
Oh,
film.
Jesus.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
great. He's
Yeah.
perfect.
I mean,
Perfect.
one scene, got it done.
Yeah, a lot of people in this movie that show up for the one scene are great. Um,
Speaking of, I did want to ask you a question
ask
about
away.
one of these one-off characters, and it was the first security guard to get it. And he goes through, I guess it's a manual or something, and he ends up taking
Oh
out
yeah.
the dirty magazine. He starts looking at it and everything. All I could think was this particular screening. Is that what we look like when we're eyeballing hotties? Like, because I was watching him and I was like, ew, because it's just like this like smirk, that's just kind of like, yeah, and I was just like, and I was disgusted by my entire sex, whatever men have a predilection for, anything under the sun.
Is that what
I
I look like?
is that what we look like? And it's making me think whenever I'm socializing again, I'm gonna like be like checking out the guys checking me out just to see like is he looking at me like that guy did at the centerfold? Anyway, it was just something it was something
um,
that bothered me, and I wanted to bring it up,
Actually, it is
doctor.
something that bothered me in a completely different context because when you, it's funny the things that you accept when you're a kid or growing up in the 80s, either a different time or your brain isn't fully developed yet. But
Yeah.
when someone like, I don't know, in this case, like at their job, and they pull out their porn magazine and we just go, oh, he's a perv and he likes looking at naked girls. Then you get older and you realize, 95% of the time, the purpose of pornography is something for you to look at when you are,
Right.
that's what it's for. So now when I see like people at their job holding porn, I'm just like, no, like you're not really gonna do what I think you're gonna do at work, are you? It was like this old David Cross bit from like I think it was in the 90s or early 2000s about like the fact that they would sell porn at the airport.
Oh, right.
Like, why are they selling porn at the airport? Are you? Because I'm not gonna sit on the plane and jerk off. Like I. So anyway, I see that now in movies. Like, oh, what a sicko. I don't want to judge, but why are you bringing porn to work to begin with?
Yeah, right. Like, just use your imagination if you're going to do anything, bud, because that
Yeah,
way
can't wait till you get home, sir.
there's no paper trail.
I don't get
um, Also, I have to say, this is present company accepted. But when I see Mike and Leslie interacting with each other from like the bed, and just the way he seems to kind of like regard her while he's going to get her cigarettes, and the way she's like kind of yelling at him when she's outside of the storefront and everything, I wrote down Mike and Leslie are what I think I picture when I think of most straight relationships.
And I'm
And then
included.
no, I said you're the exception.
Oh,
But
exception with an EX. I heard ACC, like exception.
no, you're the
Yes.
exception. Sorry,
Yeah.
I did not enunciate on the correct syllable. And no, and then it was confirmed for me by Allison when she's just kind of, I don't remember what the question is or what the comment is preceding. I just wrote Allison, like most couples, like the way they interact with each other.
Uh-huh.
It was something about the two of them, and I was just kind of like, there are too many couples when I'm in their company where the guy seems to be being said no to a lot and being told what to do. And he's just
And
kind of okay with it because she got the poo-tang,
right,
so
and she's
I
and
can't really
boys will be
speak to it.
boys. He's a horn dog, but
I
he's
I
my
ca-
horn dog, and
I I guess.
he can fucking sexually assault me at my workplace by grabbing my tits in public. And oh, you guys, stop!
Oh,
You
but
know,
they're even when they're in private, and she's just said, like, Michael, I don't allow that. I was
right?
just like, I was expecting her to just like roll up a newspaper and just bat him on the schnoz, like a bad
Although
dog.
I love that he's like, you let me like last week, like,
Exactly.
but not in front of your friends in our group fuck party.
Right. I have a
Which, by the
reputation to
way,
uphold.
by the
Yes.
way, they're fucking on the merchandise. Like people
Yeah.
are gonna buy that. I
Oh
don't care
yeah.
if you bought clean sheets.
Mhm.
That's just gross.
It bespeaks a recklessness of youth that
Yes.
just doesn't think about consequences,
And
and
I get that, but as a now
yeah.
40-year-old man, I'm just like, that's disgusting.
Now you'll think twice about getting on that model bed the next time it's safe to
Yeah.
go shopping for a bedspread or something, like
Yeah.
that that floor set.
Speaking of Mike and Leslie, Mike is one of the greatest cinematic douches I've seen
Yes,
committed to
yeah.
film. And when you were saying that, like, is this like prototypical kind of straight hetero couples? Like, I have been in the presence of so many Mikes
Oh yeah.
with that chin and with that look and with that cadence and that I don't want to call it alpha, but like alpha male because it's a bullshit thing anyway, But
Sure.
that oh man, I've seen so many Mike and Leslies, and
Oh yeah.
so
That's
many
why.
Leslies that are like quietly like very disappointed with their Mike. Um, but he
Or
is
not so quietly.
great in the part because I instantly fucking hate him,
Mm-hmm.
and I want I need the gum out of his fucking mouth because it's not just that he's chewing, it's that he's audibly it is,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
it's like in every scene he's in, and it's quite audible.
Mm-hmm. With that smirk.
With that, yeah, with the eyes and the eyebrows, and then that
That
turns
I'm
to her
gonna fuck
dad and
your
like, oh hey,
daughter.
Mr. So and
Yeah.
so, yeah,
Yeah.
we're
Oh
gonna. Oh,
God.
but he's perfect in it. Um,
Yeah, he is.
and what I found very satisfying was they did like an interview with the cast for like this little like 20-minute retrospective,
Oh.
and he talked about how like the gum was a choice. The
Oh.
gum was a choice because he's like, I could see on paper that this character, I think this is a character that everyone needs to hate. And if I chew my gum loudly, they're gonna want to just punch me in the fucking face. And I'm like, good job, good choice, because
Yes.
you succeeded, and that as an actor is what you want to do, succeed. Holy shit,
I
John
mean, yeah,
Lesky.
John Turlesky.
Yeah,
And he directs now.
yeah.
He did a lot of TV. He's done like How to Get Away with Murder, Castle. What else? I wrote something and I can't read it. Anyway, a lot of TV.
He gives good interview. Like he seems like a perfectly nice, not douchey, gum chewing prick. So like, good job.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I remember the first time I was looking for it, like, where's the crossover? Because I remember turning around with that character at a certain point, and I couldn't remember if there was a particular reason.
Was it because he was shirtless?
There was that,
Okay.
but there was also the fact that. But I remember as I was watching it, I was just kind of like, I think I just really liked it that he went and got her cigarettes. I remember thinking he could have just been like, like fuck no, and just like whatever. But the fact that he went anyway, I mean, even though it's not something it's not a dynamic of a relationship that I admire, because he did seem like such a douche, and because he seemed like the guy who would never go get the cigarettes. The fact that he went told me, okay, he's in this enough, like to want to get her something to keep her happy. I mean, he's actually more ordinary now than he is kind of like extraordinarily despicable, because he was a lot to take in maybe the first 20 minutes I knew him. And then he just kind of seemed like a guy who wanted to have a good time and who just wanted to keep her happy. And maybe it was also because he was funny. Like once he got to the cigarettes and everything, I was like, oh, you know what? I don't want him to die. I thought I
Yeah.
would want him. I thought it would be going like, yeah, take down that fucking
Well,
yuppie asshole. But I really was kind of sad that he went when he did.
well, they don't paint him as a villain.
Yeah,
Like he's just,
exactly.
yeah, but you're right. Also, the way he plays, like the shows his ID, like there you go, like
Yeah. Right. All of
yeah,
that, I was just kind of like, oh, I'd like to see him last a little bit longer, but it's a
yeah.
short movie, so we can't.
No, he is entertaining to watch. I don't,
Exactly.
yeah, but I will agree with you. He is far worse when he's in the store, and like he's being that guy who's, come on, don't chicken out, and like I'm gonna salt my girlfriend's tits in public, and then it gets a little better. Although I do love that, like she's already fucking either naked or partially naked in the bed, and her tits were already out. But when he gets up and leaves, she's like, "Hey, be sure to hurry back because this is waiting for you." Like you were already in bed together. I don't, huh?
But she's giving him the signal that you'll
Yeah,
get
he
another
actually.
chance at these.
Yeah, I
Like,
know. Look, it's more for the like it's for the audience, not for.
Oh, totally, absolutely.
There's a
But
lot, she goes out to look for Mike,
yeah.
and the camera doesn't start on her face wondering where is he. It's her butt. Her butt. She's leaving the store. Here's her butt. All right.
Yeah.
But
Or
this,
even
and that's there's it's not quite. Uh, there's some other movies that are way dorkier and hornier, but this
Mm.
movie also has good examples of like 80s. Here's some butts and boobs.
Oh
It's
yeah.
so 80s.
I love Susie's little striptease that she does while she's humming. I can't do the tune, but the
Yeah,
fact she's just like,
but it's not an
right,
erotic. No.
right before the pepperoni line. I'm just kind of like, this couldn't get less sexual to me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's got again like an innocence and
Yeah.
it feels harmless.
It's funny. There's things that are the things that are like on text are sexual, but somehow aren't. Like Barbara
Yeah,
Crampton's song that she hums is not sexy
yeah,
over the act of something that is. Versus, we're gonna have a conversation before we go to the furniture store, and the conversation is in some sort of mall locker room where like naked women walk by.
right.
This is not a sexual scenario that we are sexualizing.
Yes.
Yeah. You and I have both worked at malls before.
Yeah.
My mall did not have a community for all stores locker room.
No.
No, it's not a
Well,
thing.
certainly not one where people were stripping down and changing into their street clothes. I mean, we had a security room at the last store I worked in where we would like keep our bags and our, you know,
Right.
our coats when it was cold. There would be hangers and you can hang your coat.
Right.
But
No, but
that was the extent of the undress that we
yeah,
that
I
we kind
never
of
I never came
engaged
to the
in.
mall and like some dude was hanging dong as he walked by. I was like, oh yeah, I'm in the locker room. Like, nope, it's not a thing. Not a thing.
No, that never happened at the mall.
That's a whole other different episode, Daddy.
Right.
Um, I don't have much more else to say aside from I
Okay.
need to go over my favorite line of the movie.
What's your favorite line?
Um, and it's a great beat. In fact, I'm going to preface by saying there's a nice moment before the line. They get inside the department store and they're talking about what to do and going outside. And Frody's like, no, but they're just going to fight us fucking outside. Like, no, like we need to. And then was it? Yeah. Linda is starting to like kind of get upset at him and they kind
Uh-huh.
of have it out.
Yeah.
And Rick's like, hey, Linda. And then I love that fucking Frody's like, look, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you upset. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, holy shit. Like, you're listening, you're thinking, you're considering, and you're apologizing. Like, fucking Ferdy. Great Ferdy moment. But she says in response to him, it's all right. It's not you, Ferdy. And then she
Yes,
deeps
slides
down and
down.
sighs again. I guess I'm just not used to being chased around a mall in the middle of the night by killer robots.
I wrote it down too.
Brilliantly played. Brilliantly played. Now, the writer talked about how he felt like it was a bad line and she elevated it. But
Yes.
and one could argue that's true, that he's like, actors make my material better. But I would also kind of maintain that like first of all, she plays it so note perfect because it comes off as funny, but not self-aware. It's not wink, wink, nudge,
No,
nudge.
no.
And to make that line work as a comedic line, you have to commit to it.
Yeah,
And
and
she
she
is
totally
committed
did.
to it. And I believe it as the character, but also in that sense that I feel like she's aware that the scenario that we're in is so absurd that I can word it and acknowledge it with this verbiage, with this structure.
Hmm. Hmm.
It makes her aware, it makes her sympathetic, it makes
Hmm.
me laugh. It
Hmm.
is sublime and sublimely performed.
And it's like a microcosm of the kind of greater feeling of the movie because
Yeah.
it's earnest, but not so earnest that it ever becomes boring or that it ever takes itself too seriously.
It knows what
Yet,
it is without being a joke
yeah,
about it. Yeah.
yeah,
But we still earn like Kelly Maroney earnestly like saving the fucking day and shit. And
yeah,
like I give a shit when her and Ferdy are reunited.
yeah.
Like,
I wrote that down too. I think that was my favorite line as
yeah,
well. It's
it's perfect.
just and the delivery on top of it because I don't
The
think it's a
delivery is
bad line.
amazing.
I think it's a great line, but the thing is, I think too many actors would have gone camp with it or
Yes.
what they think camp is, and the fact that she was fully committed to it, and the fact that I could feel her
Mm.
fatigue, and I could
Yes.
feel the reality of the situation just kind of like overwhelming her, and her just kind of like surrendering. It was everything. I fucking love that moment. I have a few questions for you.
Okay.
The first one. I meant to go back and rewatch it. I went back and I rewatched the opening to find out, did they ever talk about water with the robots? But I meant to go back and rewatch this too, because I don't know what the fuck falls in Allison's face when she
Oh,
and Ferdy go apart. Was that something they dropped when they were in the air duct and I just missed it? Like there's something that
yeah,
and
it's
she
just, it's a cheap
what is
scare.
it?
It is essentially, like a rubber snake, or some, I always thought it was like wires from,
Okay.
like a duct. But, but
Yeah.
but why, if a robot didn't shoot that specific part of the ceiling, then why is there a? I think they even talked about how like that was kind of like a cheap scare that like we did, and it's,
Okay.
yeah,
Because it wasn't even like there wasn't even a dramatic sting or anything. It was just kind of
it's
like
just
all of a sudden
but
she's
yeah,
walking in, But, so because I was wondering, did I miss when the girls? I thought when the girls were in the duct that like Susie just was like losing her shit and they all decided to go back. But did they actually start lowering something maybe
it
to
is a completely
climb
arbitrary,
down
nothing
like some
cheap
cables or
scare.
something? Okay, cool. So there's that. I wanted to. Okay, you know the story. I'm assuming about the tarantulas and the snakes, right? How there was an extra component.
The scorpion that they ended up not doing.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, scorpions.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to call attention in case anybody doesn't know. Just I loved hearing Kelly Maroney tell the story
Oh yeah.
about how she she knew today was going to be the day of like the creepy crawly things or whatever, and she asked the director, Jim Wynorski. I'm going to learn this guy's name, Jim Wynorski. Um, she said, "So didn't you once say that like you would never put an actor through anything you wouldn't do yourself?" And he was just kind of like, "Yeah, of course." She just kind of like shrugged and just kind of motioned toward the tarantulas, the snakes, and the scorpions. And he had the tarantulas crawling on him, and he had the snakes crawling on him like they did on her. Oh my god! And I don't know. 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 Depends how much they're paying me, and depends on how safe I feel with the filmmaker. And if the filmmaker did it, I would totally do it too, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But he was terrified of the scorpions, and once they put like the two things, he was fine. And so she was like, okay, cool. And then they said, okay, time for the scorpions. And he was like,
Yeah.
it was like next level for him. So she was just kind of like, okay, no scorpions. He was like, that is fine. Because, okay, number one, scorpions in a pet store in the mall, maybe in the 80s, I don't remember
People have
ever seeing
scorpions,
any. Yeah.
but I think you had to go to a specialty place because they weren't in a common general pet store.
Not the little shop of pets.
Correct. I guess spiders and tarantulas were exotic enough, but maybe
Yeah. And those snakes, they looked like king snakes or something. I was like, What is the breed? I don't. That doesn't look. That looks poisonous to me. That doesn't. It looks like something out of the jungle that does not belong in an aquarium, because and it really doesn't belong around her legs. I just wrote in big capital letters, tarantulas and snakes. Do you think you could do it?
Um, yeah.
Really?
Well, first of all, snakes don't bother me. So,
Those ones did. They were big. I don't like it.
and then spiders don't really bother me, although tarantulas are a little bit larger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would definitely have a problem with the scorpions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Tarantulas, I always have a problem with, even when I see them like, like in scenes like in, I can't remember if it was The Dream Child or if it was Dream Master in Nightmare on Elm Street 4 or 5, where Alice has to like take off her jacket because all of a sudden, because tarantulas are crawling on it, and she so obviously is trying to miss them because she mustn't hurt the the live tarantulas and everything like that. So she's just kind of stomping around them on her jacket until they disappear. But every time I see that, though, I'm just thinking like, or anytime I see anybody hold them, I just think they're poisonous. Like if they bite you, you're going to die unless they get you to like an emergency room in time, you know. But like there's too much of a factor that is unreliable that makes me raise my eyebrow whenever I see people handle them. And I'm shocked when I see people handle, because I don't have a spider thing. Spiders are great, but tarantulas are like next level for me, because I guess because the spiders around my house for the most part can't bite me, you know, or won't.
They use
Because
like, is it defanged, or they do something to the tarantulas, right? When they're in movies, they use like a special.
I've heard over and over again. I mean, I used to hear that a lot when I was a kid, and
But you
I've heard
shouldn't do
it.
that to them.
No, yeah, I've heard that that's actually a myth, that you can't. That if you actually like de-venomed them or defanged them, that they would just die. You would take away their defense, and they would no longer
Yeah.
be able to like subsist somehow. Which I mean, kind of makes sense. I mean, again, like they used to take teeth out of chimpanzees like back in the mid 20th century to put them on television shows and movies to make it so that they
Yeah, I
couldn't
mean,
like bite your head off or whatever.
it's a
But
horrible rabbit hole to go down, all the things they used to do with animals in movies
exactly,
that we have moved
but
past from. But yeah, no, the more
right,
the
right.
more I think about the hair on the spider, like I could handle tarantula on me. I mean, I'd prefer to not, but like, yeah,
Yeah,
put one on me, put one on my fucking face. Like, it'll be weird, but let's go.
I just be like, what is there anything I can do to not make them angry? Snakes, I think I'd be a little bit more okay, like especially if I got some time with them beforehand. If you can just kind of like make friends and just kind of like
Mhm.
get used to, because I mean the way they look, I used to be terrified of all snakes, and then I made friends with a boa constrictor, and now I am fine
Yeah, they're
with
cute
any
in
kind
my
of boa
book.
constrictor, especially if they have tiny little heads. Because the one I saw, it was in a bag, and they just kind of sat the bag. I was in grade school, we're all sitting in a circle on the ground, and the bag was on the ground, and they just opened the bag, whoever the trainer was, and you just see this tiny little head just come out like this, and it's got the little tongue, and I was just kind of like, and I thought I was going to be terrified. A lot of us were, and we were even instructed, like, if you're scared, just get up and move away. Don't run, don't scream, there's nothing to be afraid of. But if you don't feel safe, just take a step back. And I remember just being like, oh, he's so cute. And then when I held him, I was like, he's so smooth. And I was, if I can do that, then maybe I can do that with the tarantula. I don't know. But I'd probably want my filmmaker to do it too.
Actually,
Other
I think that was
question.
really,
Yes.
I think that was
Yeah,
really cool. The director actually,
me too.
it just made me think of like Rick Baker, like everything that he tended to do,
Oh, yeah.
he would do to himself first to make sure,
Hmm.
if can I handle it, then the actor can handle it. But I don't want to put them through
Exactly.
anything that they can't handle.
Yeah.
Just a
I
good
love that.
work ethic.
Yeah. Also, question. This is less production and more like within the framework of the movie, like within the conceit. How do you think you'd fare if you had to hang by the railing like Allison did, waiting
I
for that robot?
I would fall so much sooner than she ever does.
Really?
Yeah, fuck yeah. Like I'm not strong and I weigh a lot. Like this is basic physics, man.
But you don't think your like survival instinct would like kick in or something, or that you could like?
Like I understand how adrenaline works and certain degree of muscles, but
Yeah.
like but like I'm still looking at like my like I was shit at chin ups as a kid. I'm shit at chin ups now. It, eventually, before my biceps, I know like my fingers are just gonna be like this, starting to fucking hurt, and then I'd fall. You know, like
But okay, because also another thing I thought when she was doing that was she had like, I don't even know what they were. It looked like a planter and maybe a speaker like next to her or something, or maybe it was just like a sconce or something. But there were like two things like next to her that it looked like maybe she could like lift her leg and kind of prop herself up on or
mm,
sit on, you know, while still kind of holding onto the railing. And I was wondering like, would I try that? Um, but I was good at hanging from, you know, just go out to like monkey bars when I was in the playground and just like hold on. I don't have to lift myself. I mean, I will
right.
eventually, but if I just hang there, just suspend.
Well,
I used to be good at, I do way more now. I don't know what I would be like,
the
especially
dead
after the
weight.
pandemic, but yeah.
Yeah, like on the monkey bars, if I was hanging with my arms fully extended, I'd probably last longer. The problem is she's having to like look.
Yeah.
So like this, all that, I'd be fucking dead in seconds.
But I'd just be listening. See, I'd just be like, well, listen for the can opener sound. And if I hear it like off in the distance, then I know it's probably a good time to get
Yeah,
up.
that's a good yeah.
Anyway.
But I just you made me flash back to like every PE where some do chin ups, and I'm just like, and down. Like,
There was a
but
time when I could do it. I haven't done them in a long time. I should try. I should get to. Well, I'm scared to go to a park and touch things that other people have touched. But
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'll find something I can hang from and just see safely, folks. Other question.
yeah.
Do you think you could? I started to write. Do you think you could jump? But she didn't. She pretty much marched. Do you think you could march through a plate glass window like Allison does? Because she pretty much just kind of
Oh yeah. Oh, but I love that
right
she takes the
through.
time to put like her sweater over.
Yeah,
Well, yeah. Well, I feel like in that scenario, like you need to get the job done.
yeah,
So yeah, like it's gonna hurt and it's gonna cut me up a bit, but like do what you got to do, man. And that's
yeah.
if it's that or die by robot laser.
Right.
Hell yeah! Like, could you?
This
Like,
is the
you
thing.
got to, right?
I've actually walked into plate glass windows before. Like I remember like being at like friends' homes that I'm not like familiar with, and like their parents would like have us like half the time in the house, half the time outside the house, and they'd like shut the door and like they'd want it to be so clean it'd be like you could see through it like it wasn't even there, and I literally ran into plate glass. Thank God it didn't break, but boy did I get a bump, and I had to lay on the sofa for the rest of the party with some ice while my mom came to collect me. So I think I'd worry too much about it not breaking. I'd probably look for something heavy that I could,
Great, but
because
like
that's
in
another.
that moment, there wasn't like anything like nearby that store, right?
Well, that's another thing that I thought. Like, because she grabbed the sparkler, or the sparkler, the flare, the
Hmm.
road flare. Good for her. I would have looked for like a knapsack or something, even like a shopping bag that I could have thrown like a few of them in and just kept it like over my
Hmm.
shoulder if I could have and everything like that. And then just maybe I don't know, try that. I don't know. I mean, again, like it's all hearsay until you're in it. You don't know what
Right.
you would do until you're in it.
No,
So
but that's what I
I
tried to
I think
imagine. Like
I'd be
if I
scared
was
though.
in it and the pressure
Yeah,
was on, I would, you know.
yeah. I just wish I would have the ingenuity to come up with those booby traps, because like booby traps of the 1980s is a great thing to behold.
Oh, you mean
And
like
the fact,
Nancy's booby traps?
yeah.
Yeah.
But even like it's like she's setting up like like with the paint cans and everything like that. I mean, it's essentially a booby trap, like
Yeah, I mean it's simple, but
um
it's very effective.
yeah, like
And
without
again, when push comes to shove, and she's playing it with that fire in her eyes of kill or be killed sort of thing.
yeah.
I think it's even when she like first runs from the pet store. There's like this like some sort of tracking shot. I don't know what they're moving on, but the camera's with her while she's running, and she's just fight or flight mode. It's just fucking in there, man.
Yeah. Um and also I just wanted to comment like at the end, like I think it is so fucking sweet when Ferdy's alive,
Birdie's, yeah, he's got his little TP of blood.
and the fact that they just kind of like run to each other, like it's what I love about it is I don't question it in the least. I just kind of like, oh my god, they barely know each other. And it's like, no, we fucking survived. You
And
know?
they had a connection before that, like
Yeah,
a
they did.
genuine connection.
I'm I'm telling you, as if I get vaccinated in the coming year, which I probably will. But once I start to kind of feel safe to like go out into the world and engage and everything like that, if I feel like socializing, like I feel like I want to date like they had. Like all the fucks are like fucking in the background and that's all fine and good. But I love the fact that they're sitting there watching an old horror movie together, totally into it.
Oh yeah.
And then he so sweetly just kind of like offers, you know, to let her off the hook because
And
there's
take her
there's
home
pressure
himself.
galore. Like that is a high pressure situation to be in where everybody's fucking and everything like that. And the fact that she's the one who initiates
Mm.
what follows between the two of them. And it's just, you know, like kissing and sweetness
Yeah.
and everything like that. But I'm just like, I miss romance. I miss the romance.
You just want to
Oh,
watch a Roger Corman movie with, yeah, because again, they're watching a Roger Corman movie.
yeah.
But the fact that they both grew up watching that and they both know it
Yeah.
makes each of them really cool in my book as characters.
Yeah, I think that's
Attack
what
of the
sells
Crab,
me
Attack
on
of the
both
Crab
of them.
Monsters, I think.
Sure.
I think it's
I
Attack of the
don't. I
Crab Monsters.
don't.
But yeah.
All I
Um,
know is it was based on GOG. I mean, this movie,
oh,
like
the design of the robots is 100%
right,
based on the robots from God.
1954. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. They
So,
are
okay.
roly and they have these little heads that, like it and these arms. I
Yeah.
I love the fucking arms in this movie because well no, but also when it's like attack mode,
Mm.
like
Hmm.
it reminded me of, and it's actually a very in a weird aesthetic sort of way an 80s thing where like when things would be like open and things being open meant it was the thing. Like the best example of that is like the the X-wings locking the
Yeah.
attack position. So you open them up.
Hmm.
I remember
Yeah.
like Mask, the cartoon. When the car would transform to a flying car, all its doors do was lift up, and now it's a flying car. But like everything was being in this like
Mm.
open position. I remember you get like if you ever got like like a Gerber tool, like if you opened up everything, like oh everything's open now, man. Now it's so the fact that like they have lasers, they have these little panels that open up and fire things. But when
Yeah.
it's like now it's time to kill you, it would just be like extended arms, and now I'm just going to come forward with my arms up as if that is now the imposing version. That is now the threat. It's now got its arms extended. Now it's a killbot. Like, and it looks ridiculous.
I didn't think about it like that. I mean, I think I just kind of like regarded like, oh, that's a more aggressive position, but then I just moved on. That's funny.
It's supposed to be.
No, I think the time that I focused most on their kind of like physicality was in that silhouette shot where they're first shutting down the mall
Oh.
and you just see like a shadow on the wall and just the,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, Nosferatu, you know, you may as well, you know, but yeah, that might be all I have. The only other thing I think I have is just my second favorite line, spoken by the former Mr. Mushnick,
Mm.
with his incredibly soiled shirt,
Which he
which
continues to soil in the scene.
well, because my first question was, how do you get that dirty? You're just making pizza, motherfucker. But then I saw him wiping on his, and I was like, ew, because it just looks like he's only wearing one layer, so he's probably sweating through it. And it was kind of like, oh, this isn't sanitary. But
how much of that shirt is him, and how much of it's food?
he is excreting colors no human should excrete, but through his chest. But
he's
anyway,
got a condition.
he's got a condition. But I love. I think this is the. I was already giggling when I saw Mr. and Mrs. Bland and everything like that, but I full on guffawed when he's sitting there going like, "You breaking my heart." It doesn't get more cartoony or outlandish than that. And he went on speaking, just kind of like, you know, gibbering in like some kind of Italian prattle, and while the girls are picking up everything together. And it really, if the stage hadn't already been set for me, it was definitely set by that point. I was just kind of like, have fun.
Yes.
So, and
I'll tell
fun
you
I
what the
did.
stage was set for me. I remember specifically.
What?
It was when Dick Miller showed up.
Oh,
I
yeah.
instantly, like the second Dick Miller shows up in one of these kinds of movies, I just go like, okay, I know what I'm in for. I'm in good hands. They knew to put Dick Miller in it.
Yeah.
I know what I'm gonna get now. Like the
Yeah.
warm blanket has been placed on me. Like I'm good.
Although, two questions. Those aren't his tats, right? That's
Yeah, I don't
question
know.
one. Yeah.
I don't
Because he's
know.
got like tats like
Yeah,
all decorating his forearms and shit. And I was just kind of like, because they could be
they
like,
could be real because
and
they
I
don't
don't
look shitty movie markered on.
know, but I
Yeah,
couldn't remember if we ever saw his forearms in the Gremlins
we
movies. So
don't.
now I've got to, now I have
We don't
work
in
to do. I
Gremlins
have to find
one,
out.
and I'm wondering if we do in Gremlins two.
I don't
I
think
don't think
so. He's
so.
always wearing his jacket, right?
Yeah, but I'm just trying to think like when he first arrives at their apartment, and I'm like, no, he's
Yeah,
still.
he's got a jacket on. They both
Yeah,
do. Okay, so no.
yeah. I'm trying to
But
think of other
so
movies like.
I just want to know, like, are they, and if some are and some aren't, well, which ones are yours and what are they? So that's all I want to know. But I would totally buy if all of them were his,
Sure.
because it's not. It didn't throw me off seeing him with all of these tattoos on his forearms and like running up like his shirt sleeve and everything like that. I was just kind of like, wow, Dick Miller's a badass, you know. But I already knew that. But also, do you know, it doesn't look like him in the fall shot where he hits the floor. It looks like they shot somebody else, or maybe they just shot him with some bubbly.
With all the makeup on his face.
Yeah, it doesn't
I
look
don't
like
know.
him at all to me.
I just know there's so much crud on his face. I couldn't even give you a real answer.
Okay.
It-
I want to.
like
I wondered if you came across it in any of your commentaries or anything
no, I mean,
like that.
yeah, no, they didn't. They talked about how like it's not Barbara Crampton being lit on fire, but yeah, I don't recall. They don't mention a stuntman for Dick Miller falling over. It wouldn't surprise me though if like not like he's a diva, but it's like no, you can go home. We don't need to paint you with all this makeup just for this one shot of a guy
He
falling over.
slams down on that floor
Yeah,
too, and it's a hard floor. So I'm like, I don't see you asking Dick Miller to do that. I'm sure he would, but I don't know.
yeah.
I just wondered. All right.
Whereas a lot of the other people in this movie, like,
Yeah.
I mean, granted, obviously there's some bigger stunts,
Hmm.
but there's a lot of like, no, that's really that 22-year-old kid jumping off a thing. That's really that guy leaping from that.
Yeah.
I know Kelly Maroney wanted to do the fall, and they're like, no, but I
Mm.
guess she wanted to.
It looked like Russell Todd a lot of the time.
You just
With
want
his
you just want to
big
see
old.
Russ Todd as much as you can.
Um. Yeah.
Yeah,
I miss his Friday the 13th Part 2 hair though. It was a little helmety in this
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Everybody's was actually, maybe except for Verdi,
Oh,
who I yeah.
I do want to set you on if you're curious to see more Jim Wynorski movies.
Yes,
Um,
please.
no, I just if you're curious, you can check out Busty Cops and
Mm.
Sexapede and The Devil Wears Nada and the Bear Wench Project and Cleavage Field
What?
and the Breastford Wives and the Da Vinci Coed and the House on Hooter Hill and my favorite, The Witches of Breastwick.
That one I want to see first. Because how do you make Witches of Eastwick weirder?
you put a B and R in front of it, and
Right.
just you just go from there.
No, but I mean, they could. Yeah, that I must see. I
He
remember.
has
That's
a
funny.
he has a massive catalog
Yeah.
of he directed a lot in the 90s and 2000s,
Yes.
and most
And I
recently
know.
he's done a lot of like schlocky like Sharknado type movies that seem
Sure.
to have less beads in them and more CGI creatures.
Because that's what people want to see these days. But
But yeah, I
Kelly
mean,
Maroney talked about doing kind of like a slew of like other films with him after the fact. Whenever he could use her, he always wanted to work with her, and she was just she. It broke my heart because she said, "You know, I'm an actress in Hollywood, starving my ass off, so he offers me a job, I'm going to take it." And just really great attitude about it. You know, just no glamour, no mystery, no like, you know, like just guys, this is what it's like. I'm hungry.
right.
And my
You know
friend
what?
offered me a job. Of
It's
course I'm going to play. She played the porn mom in something, and they said it was not a porn, but she did play the porn
Porn
mom in
Mom.
it. And I don't. Yeah.
I'm really glad you mentioned that because this happens to me a lot, especially like in the last 5 or 10 years when people, whenever we're talking movies or when the subject comes up and people go, why is so and so doing this movie? Why is so and so in that? I always go, guys got to eat. I go with the girls got to eat. Like actors have to eat.
Yeah.
Like I know you're concerned about their legacy. They're concerned about fucking paying rent and like getting a meal. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
This is
No,
their work. They're freelance, whatever they are. Like, think about
yeah.
whatever you see. If you see drywall when you think freelance, if you see air conditioning units, whatever you see, just imagine a movie or a commercial. Or
Mhm.
if I'm talking to the
And
folks
and
watching this, just
and even on a
that's what it
bigger
is.
level, like your
Yeah.
Nicolas Cages, where or whatever your Johnny Depps, where they get in a financial
Yeah.
situation where like, oh my God, why are they being in this? It's like because they've got like a dinosaur island to pay off or whatever. Like, but they've got debts, man. You got to make. Now, I just want to mention. I only mentioned Jim Wynorski's. I'm not poo pooing his history of work. I just really wanted to read those titles to you, and you gave me some good laughter, so you delivered what I needed.
Oh, good. No, they're amazing. I can't wait. The Witches of Breastwick. I'm looking. I'm going to see if I can stream it tonight.
No, but legitimately, all kidding aside, if you do want to watch something else that he did, I mean, obviously he's got the poster for Sorceress all over this movie. I know he wrote Screwballs, but he directed Return of Swamp Thing, which is a fun sequel.
I haven't seen that in years. Oh my
That's him, man.
God.
Yeah, homie knows how to direct like a fun time.
Oh, I used to fucking.
Look at the nostalgia
Oh,
you're feeling right now.
I haven't thought about that movie. And like, oh my God.
If I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken, it's either on Tubi or it's on Amazon Prime.
Ah! Wake up my neighbors again.
No, but I think it's free with Prime. The first one is,
Okay.
but the second one is, yeah.
I'm going to conduct a search. I have quite a few platforms under my belt right now, so
Mhm.
for research purposes. So,
Oh, and considering we
um,
we said the words "eating Raoul" so much, I think that's on HBO Max. If anyone out there is curious to see more
ooh,
of
fun,
Lands,
nice. I'm getting it back in March, so maybe I can watch it in March.
yeah, do it.
Maybe as a pave the way for the Snyder cut.
Yeah, yeah, because those two are totally related. Because
I'll have my own little double feature. You don't know.
yeah,
How long is Eating Raoul? Is it going to be 4 hours too?
no, uh, I'm looking. No comment. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Um, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I got to say. And I said Beverly Center. I said you broke my heart. Oh, and I did laugh out loud when I saw Allison with her tied sweater over her little preppy. I used to do that, John Carlos. Tie a sweater, like put it on my back and take the sleeves and tie them in like a little knot. Or sometimes you could like put one sleeve inside the other, so it would
Oh
just kind
yeah,
of drape like around your belly button, but you'd still like wear it. And wasn't somebody? I feel like somebody at some point in this movie was carrying their jacket, like again, another Michael J. Fox reference. But he always used to, when he wasn't wearing his jacket, he'd like loop it and then just kind of over his shoulder, and it would be like running down his back, and he'd just kind of, I'm Mr. Cool, just like mosey around with that jacket over his shoulder, and like,
is this Alex P. Keaton specifically that we're talking about?
Michael J. Fox did it
Okay,
in every role, I think. If
okay,
he ever took a jacket off, it was going over his shoulder.
okay.
I don't think Marty McFly ever took a
That
jacket
was
off.
his
So
Harrison Ford finger point or his Shia.
exactly.
No, 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 no.
But I feel like somebody must have done that in this movie at some point, and I was just kind of like, it's the
Interesting.
80s.
I
Oh
want to. I
God, it's
want to do a deep
nice.
dive into that and see how accurate you are. If that is his.
Okay.
That's his.
Well, see, maybe
Wow,
I have been watching a lot of 80s horror lately, so maybe I'm imagining it. But I didn't imagine
dude.
her sweater draped on her back. Why did we do that in the 80s? What was that about? It's like wearing belts. When you wear a sweater, you would put a belt on it to cinch it.
I mean, I didn't, but yeah.
And pull one one shoulder down off of your Oh God, what were we
I
thinking?
think it was the men with the belly, like the cropped belly shirts
Yeah.
that I
Yes,
want.
that is coming back actually,
Ah,
which is nice. I have no problem with that. People are putting it into like little fashion magazines and things like that, and I'm like, yes, let's bring it back. Let's get short shorts back too.
Eddie likes short shorts.
I
Answering the
like
question.
short
Yeah.
shorts. I'm done.
That's it, man.
That's the
um,
note we're gonna leave this.
Eddie likes men in short shorts. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you, Eddie, for joining us. We know what you're Googling after we wrap this up. Um,
Which is a breastwick. That's what I'm Googling.
yes. But no joke, I might watch Return of the Living Dead the next week. I mean, not Return of Swamp Thing.
How dare you?
Return
Yes.
of Swamp
Return
Thing.
of the Swamp Thing.
Um,
All right.
yeah. So yeah, thanks for joining me, man.
Woo! Yeah.
Specifically, I guess I should say thank you. Have a nice day. You know, but you do stick around to the end credits, right?
Yeah.
The end of the credits, it goes to the audience. It's like, thank you. Have a nice day.
Yes. It's so sweet.
Until next time. This was fun.
Yes.
It's been a while, and I'm looking forward to whatever the next one is.
Yeah. Fun stuff, kids.